My beloved child, before you move on, pause for just a heartbeat. Something has been quietly following you through ordinary moments, waiting for the exact instant your eyes would meet these words. You may believe you found this message by chance, but some encounters refuse to fit inside the small box that people call coincidence. There is a reason your spirit became restless today. There is a reason your heart slowed, even if only for a moment. Listen carefully, because what you are about to hear carries an echo that has been traveling toward you for longer than you can remember. I still remember, when I first saw you, you looked like a fragile spark trembling against an endless sky. You were so small that the world would have overlooked you without a second glance. You looked like a flame that any passing wind could silence. Yet I did not see weakness. I saw a promise hidden beneath uncertainty. I saw courage that had not yet learned its own name. I saw a soul carrying music it had never heard itself sing. Long before your first breath filled your lungs, I watched silence gather around your beginning. I watched possibilities weave themselves together like threads of light. While others imagine beginnings as loud celebrations, yours arrived with a whisper so gentle that only heaven noticed its full meaning. Even then, I knew your story would not be easy. I knew there would be nights when you questioned your worth and mornings when your reflection felt like a stranger. Still, I smiled, because I also knew something you could not yet understand. There would come a day when you would wonder whether anyone had truly seen you. Whether your tears disappeared into empty air. Whether your prayers dissolved before reaching the stars. That day has already visited you more than once. Perhaps it came after someone walked away without explaining why. Perhaps it came when you stood in a crowded room feeling invisible. Perhaps it came during a quiet evening when you smiled for everyone else while carrying storms no one could name. I was there, not as a distant observer counting your mistakes. Not as a judge waiting for you to fail. I was there as the silent witness who refused to abandon you when every familiar voice became quiet. Every tear that slipped down your face carried a story the world never asked to hear, but I listened to every sentence written in those tears. I counted the moments you almost surrendered to hopelessness. I noticed every time you chose kindness after receiving cruelty. I noticed every time your heart broke without making a sound. There is something about you that has confused darkness from the beginning. It expected your pain to make you bitter. It expected rejection to harden your heart. It expected disappointment to convince you that love was only a beautiful illusion. Yet somehow, even after everything, a small corner inside you continued searching for light. That tiny place inside your soul never truly surrendered. Do you know why? Because I never allowed that flame to disappear. You thought your strength came and went like the changing weather. You believed your courage was unreliable because fear visited so often. But courage was never the absence of fear. Courage was every trembling step you took while fear whispered that you should remain still. You called yourself weak because your hands shook. I called you brave because you kept reaching forward anyway. There were seasons when your life felt like an unfinished sentence, doors closed, dreams dissolved. People made promises they never intended to keep. You searched for explanations until exhaustion became your closest companion. You wondered whether you had somehow fallen outside the reach of hope, yet even while you questioned everything, unseen hands continued arranging moments you would only understand much later. Do not rush past those words. Some of the greatest answers in your life have already begun moving toward you without announcing themselves. The miracle you imagine as one dramatic moment may actually arrive disguised as a conversation, a delay, an unexpected goodbye, or an ordinary sunrise that changes the direction of your heart forever. This is why you must remain awake, not awake with fear, awake with expectation, because heaven often whispers before it shouts. You have mistaken waiting for abandonment. You have mistaken silence for absence. You have mistaken delay for denial. If only you could see what has been unfolding beyond the edges of your vision. If only you could witness the countless moments when paths shifted to protect you from heartbreak you never knew existed. There were roads you begged to walk that would have stolen pieces of your spirit. There were opportunities you mourned losing that carried hidden chains. There were relationships you prayed would survive that would have slowly convinced you to forget who you truly are. You called those moments losses. I called them rescues. One day the full picture will unfold before you like dawn revealing a hidden landscape. And you will realize that what felt like unanswered prayers were often loving interruptions. Even now, your heart carries questions you have not spoken aloud. You wonder whether you have waited too long, whether your best years slipped away while you were surviving instead of living, whether you somehow missed the purpose you were supposed to fulfill. Listen carefully. Purpose does not expire because life became difficult. Destiny does not abandon someone simply because they became tired. Your story has never depended upon perfect timing according to human clocks. The hours of heaven move differently. What appears late to the world may arrive exactly when your soul has become capable of carrying it. There is another truth I have waited to tell you. Many people have looked at your life and assumed they understood your journey. They saw your smile. They heard your laughter. They watched you continue moving forward. What they never saw were the invisible battles that shaped every quiet victory. They never saw how many times you talked yourself out of giving up. They never saw how much energy it took just to appear ordinary. They never saw the weight you carried while pretending. Everything was fine, but I saw it all. I remember the nights when sleep refused to comfort you. The ceiling became your closest companion while questions circled your mind like restless birds. You replayed conversations. You revisited regrets. You imagined different endings. You searched your own heart for answers until sunrise painted the room with another day you weren't sure you could face. Still, you stood. Still, you breathed. Still, you continued. Never underestimate what that means. There are victories no crowd applauds. There are triumphs no trophies celebrate. There are battles won entirely inside the human heart. Those victories shine brighter in heaven than many achievements the world applauds. I know there were moments when you envied people whose paths appeared easier. You wondered why peace seemed effortless for everyone except you. Comparison quietly stole joy from your mornings. It whispered that you were behind. It insisted that everyone else had discovered a secret you somehow missed. But comparison has always been a poor storyteller. It shows polished endings while hiding painful beginnings. it celebrates harvests while concealing seasons of planting in lonely soil. Never measure your sacred journey against someone else's visible chapter. You are reading different books. There is something unusual about your heart. Even after disappointment, you still hope. Even after betrayal, you still search for honesty. Even after grief, some part of you still believes tomorrow can become different. That hope has frustrated every force that wished to convince you that darkness always wins. Hope is not weakness. Hope is resistance. Hope is quiet rebellion against despair. Hope is the language of souls that refuse to forget where they came from. When I first saw you, I knew that hope would become your hidden strength, not because life would become easy, because life would teach you that light becomes most visible after long nights. Have you noticed how certain memories continue returning without invitation? Moments you believed you had buried suddenly appear while driving alone, washing dishes, or watching rain gather against a window. You assumed your mind was simply wandering. Sometimes it was something more. Certain memories return because healing has finally reached the place where truth can be uncovered. Pain often hides lessons until the heart becomes ready to receive them. You have grown more than you realize. Years ago, the same situation would have shattered your peace for weeks. Now it only visits for moments before wisdom gently leads you forward. You keep calling yourself unchanged because you focus on the scars. I see transformation because I remember the wounds before they became scars. Never confuse evidence of healing with evidence of failure. Scars are not reminders that you were defeated. They are proof that pain did not have the final word. There is another reason this message found you today. Something inside you has been preparing for a shift you cannot yet describe. Perhaps you have felt it while standing beneath an evening sky. Perhaps you sensed it during unexpected silence. Perhaps your heart has become strangely restless, as though ordinary routines no longer satisfy something deep within. You are not imagining it. The season around you is changing long before your eyes can confirm it. Seeds grow underground before anyone celebrates flowers. Transformation often begins where no applause exists. Do not become discouraged simply because visible evidence has not yet appeared. Invisible growth is still growth. The deepest roots always develop where no one is watching. There have been moments recently when you almost convinced yourself to settle, to stop expecting, to accept less than what your heart quietly longs for. You whispered, "Maybe this is simply how life will always be." No, do not imprison tomorrow with conclusions drawn from yesterday's disappointments. The pages ahead have not been written by your fears. There are conversations waiting to happen. There are doors waiting to open. There are friendships waiting to remind you what genuine kindness feels like. There are moments waiting that will make previous chapters finally make sense. But before those moments arrive, something inside you must awaken. Not your ambition, not your pride, your trust. Trust has been sleeping beneath layers of disappointment. It remembers how to breathe. It remembers how to believe. It remembers what your soul knew before fear became louder than faith. I have watched you carry guilt that never belonged to you. You accepted blame for storms created by other people's choices. You apologized for existing too loudly. You shrank yourself so others could remain comfortable. You questioned your value because someone else failed to recognize it. Release those chains. A person's inability to appreciate your light has never determined whether your light exists. The sun does not stop shining because someone closes their curtains, neither should you. There are people who crossed your path only to teach you what genuine love is not. At the time, those encounters felt cruel. Now you carry wisdom that cannot be purchased. Discernment often arrives wearing the disguise of heartbreak. The soul learns to recognize truth after surviving convincing imitations. Do not regret every closed chapter. Some endings quietly protected your future. If I revealed everything waiting beyond this moment, your heart would race with disbelief. You would understand why certain delays became necessary. You would see invisible connections stretching across years. You would recognize that moments you dismissed as random were actually gentle preparations. But revelation arrives in portions, not because I wish to hide goodness from you. Because overwhelming light can blind eyes still adjusting to dawn. So I reveal enough for your next step, then enough for the step after that. This has always been the rhythm: one whisper, one step, one revelation, one more sunrise, and suddenly you realize you have traveled farther than you ever imagined possible. Yet there remains something I have not told you, something connected to the very first moment I saw you. Something hidden inside the reason your heart has always felt different from those around you. You have sensed it without understanding it. You have carried questions without names. You have felt drawn toward something just beyond memory, as though your spirit remembers a promise your mind cannot fully recall. That feeling is not meaningless. It is connected to the beginning, to the first moment I looked upon you and understood what even you would spend years trying to discover. The time has almost come for you to hear that forgotten truth. But before you can receive it, you must understand why everything that seemed to break you was secretly shaping the part of your soul that will recognize it. And when that forgotten truth is finally spoken, nothing you believed about your journey will ever look the same again.